All right, fantastic. Welcome back to the InsurTech Leadership Podcast. I'm Josh Hollander of Horton International, and today I am joined by Ido Deutsch, who spent the last 9 years leading go-to-market for Agentero, the digital insurance network founded in 2017. And in March of last year, Agentero launched ProducerFlow, a distribution management platform that started life as an in-house tool to onboard agents faster and manage licensing across states. Welcome, Ido.
Thanks for having me, Josh. Great being here. Excited to chat with you today.
Yeah, me too. So, you know, hoping we can maybe talk about, um, some of the things that carriers, MGAs, agencies are kind of getting wrong and right about the things they are doing today, and how distribution infrastructure is evolving, and kind of the lessons you've learned over your many years selling into this market, and kind of where the friction and the opportunities lie. So um, maybe you could just share a little bit more detail on your background and kind of how you came to be sitting where you are today.
Yeah, awesome. A little bit about my background. So I grew up in Israel, moved to the US in 2014, and my whole life since my adult life, I've been building businesses. So I'm a builder. I've been building two different businesses, actually three, in Israel before moving here. And then when I moved to the US for the first 2 years, I worked on a different startup. Two of those startups got acquired, two didn't work out really well. And then I went to business school in Berkeley in 2016, where this is where I met Luis Pino, the founder of Agentero. I spent probably 5 months before that working with MBroker, which was 2016. That was a digital commercial broker. Did a couple of things for them on the go-to-market, and then Luis just got his initial setup with Agentero. He needed someone to help him. I was still in my business school program with him. He dropped and told me if I want to help him a little bit. Started helping him, and then very quickly it moved into a full-time job during business school. So this is, for the last 9 years, I've been working with him, building that from scratch. Basically, when I joined, there was barely a product and one client, and just a little bit of money that we got. So this is how I joined Agentero, and for the last 9 years, what we've been building is digital network. So on one hand, we have a lot of agencies, typically small to mid-sized insurance agencies. On the other end, we have carriers and MGAs, so different programs to provide market access. And then in the middle, we have many layers of technology, both on the carrier side, on the agency side, to make sure access works really well, so they can almost like a marketplace, but then a lot of tools for the agencies to be able to quote and bind policies, and for the carriers to find the agencies that really make sense for them. So as we started building the network, because before the network, as every startup, starting from scratch, we experimented with a lot of things. The network idea came in and formed around end of 2019. When we started doing that, we needed to onboard agencies, quickly get validated their licensing, making sure they're compliant, get them to sign contracts, do a lot of those things. We started doing it manually initially, and then at some point we were getting hundreds of agencies each month, and we just couldn't do it. So we looked out there for, okay, we need something to help us work through that. We couldn't find anything. There were maybe 2 or 3 solutions out there. Most of them were older incumbents, created earlier in the 2000s or the 90s. Didn't really work for us from a flexibility standpoint and integration, what we needed to create. And then the other solution that was kind of like newer was really, really expensive. Didn't make sense for us as a startup to build that. So we just built our own technology, internal tools. And as we started scaling that tool and working with more and more carriers, they started asking us, oh, how do you do that? They have similar problems. Oh, how did you know that this agent license expired? How did you know that I need to ask for a new error and omissions policy? All those type of things, right? So we told them we build a tool, and they then asked to use it. So it took us a couple carriers asking and a couple iteration with them to understand that there is a real challenge in the market on like how to manage distribution, how to manage brokers. There are a lot of different challenges in that. And we worked with quite a few of our carriers as design partners to build a product. And in 2025, in March 25, we were like, we built it. We have clients using it. There is a product. There is a problem in the market. We're here if anyone wants to talk to us and wants to use it. So that's when, we decided to create ProducerFlow as a sub brand, different company that goes out and selling that type of solution, because it's a little bit different segment, different types of products. And since then it's been going really well, and we're scaling the product, scaling the clients, scaling the team, and it's going pretty well.
So maybe a little bit of a random question this early in the process, but as someone who's on the GTM side, are you looking for the folks who, there's some indication that they're sort of already built for growth, or are you looking for the folks who are sort of desperately in firefighting mode, or you look for some of each to balance things out, or how do you think about
from a client standpoint, like who are the
client standpoint? Yeah.
So it's a good question. It's our best. I would say the best type of clients are the ones that are scaling fast and need a solution because they need to onboard a lot of agencies. They are looking for agents that they can't spend a lot of time on manual work and validating licenses one by one and having spreadsheets, and they're building distribution org, and they need that to work. This is where we come in, and it works really well. We build the whole infrastructure for them, so it's really easy for them to manage and integrate with all the stack. But we also have MGAs that are just starting and need help with, I'm just starting my I just got some capacity and I need to set up licensing in 50 states. So what do I do? How do I go there? And we help them set up and grow from there. And those that are constant fire mode, our best clients actually are moving to us from, they have a solution. So our best clients, even those that I said that are scaling, typically they tried the solution already. They have some kind of one of the three that I mentioned before. They probably have some variation of it. And all those solutions are typically over-promise, under-deliver. And they're like, I pay so much money, and no, they couldn't help me. And then we go in and we tell them, hey, this is how our solution works. And it can work with everything that you have today. And initially they don't believe us, but maybe they see a case study, maybe they talk to a different client. They're like, wow, this is great. Let's do it. And those are our best sort of experiences, clients that are moving over. And see such, just we try not to overpromise, but definitely over-deliver.
And what's your take on sort of selling point solutions versus selling kind of more comprehensive offerings in the current market?
I think it's tough with point solutions. Like we could have just created a point solution. It doesn't work really well. It doesn't work really well because it doesn't solve the problem. Like if you like, let me just help you with one thing, or just I can do that really well. The carrier or the MGA, they have a lot of different, especially from my perspective, they look at distribution. You can't just say onboarding or just licensing. It has to be comprehensive and it has to work with all the stack, because if not, then you just create more problems for them. Like maybe you can think of a point solution specific that could do it, but the problem we solved for Agentero before was the one that, they're all point solutions. And I needed it to work with how I do onboarding, how my tax stack is working, my CRM and my marketing automation, making sure it all holistically works together. And they couldn't help me. And this is why we built it. So
Yeah.
what we believe is that you have your stack. We are not a point solution. We will work with your stack, right? Like if you have a policy admin system, you have your CRM, you have your document signature provider, whatever you have, we come in and we integrate with all of it to create the infrastructure. So then everything works like magic, works together, and you don't need to worry about, what, where are my things, who is this agent, and like who this agent belong to. Is it like a part of a network? Is it part of a wholesaler? Is it an actual direct agent? Who is this? So a lot of those problems that are typically happening for a carrier in the distribution and the management of distribution, we are solving as a holistic solution and not a point solution.
So I think it was Kleiner Perkins. It was one of the big VCs put out an article recently sort of talking about is, services are the new software. I'm probably not paraphrasing that quite right. So do you view yourself as providing a service? Do you view yourself as providing software infrastructure? How do you position it as your?
It's a great question, and I think this is a big dynamic in the market because a lot of this AI investment that are going out to companies, they are now the expectation is very different from startups on what you do and what problems you're solving and how you go about that. They don't wanna. The market doesn't really accept SaaS-only tool. They want you to solve. You want to give an outcome, and you want to ideally, from their perspective, replace a whole function and take the work. So you do the outcome and you do the work. And we do have clients that tell us, I don't want to have compliance in-house. You do it. And we do that. And this is, typical outcome based. But there are a lot of carriers that just the sheer challenge they have in their infrastructure, you can't do that. But what we help them do is set up the infrastructure in the right way. So then we can build more AI models on that, or they can build their own, they can bring their own Claude or whatever they do. But Claude is, if the data and the infrastructure is not right, it will just give you very confident answers and things to do that are not right. So we get the data right. That for me, if you ask me, how are you, what are you doing in this market, is building the infrastructure, and then on top of that, building the services. Whether the carrier wants us to take the full outcome, we can do that, and we do it for quite a few of our clients. Or they want it to work with their own tools and their own processes, we can do that today. I feel like maybe the last 1 or 2 months it's changing a little bit, but a lot of the incumbent carriers are very, and it's understandable, they're slow moving. They don't want to have like, AI now and I want to do everything with AI. They want to see it out, like they want to wait it out and see how that goes before they go in. So a lot of times they are very wary about that, and they're like, we don't want AI. Is that an AI solution? We just want the infrastructure. We don't want the AI. Don't work with AI on our data. So we get a lot of this pushback. I think, if you're a 150-year-old company that has been and seen through ups and downs, you want to wait it out and see how that turns out. But I think fixing your data and infrastructure is always a smart move. So
So the balance of sort of speed versus, trade-offs on risk and quality, that is it different in those segments, like the way agencies think about it, the way MGAs think about it, the way carriers think about it, or?
Yes.
Yeah.
Definitely. So when you can segment them in different ways, but I would say the more insurtech oriented, whether they are a carrier or an MGA or an agency, they are fast movers. They are there to take the risk, right? So they want to move faster. They want to take everything that they can, every efficiency they can gain, and however we can help them, they just want to go. And that's, for us, it's great, right? Like, we are putting it out there, we're working with them, we are launching. But then you see those larger carriers, and we have a lot, quite a few of them, and applying for RFPs and going and selling those type of things. And the approach there is very different. They don't want to commit to anything that is, I don't know if I don't want to take, speak from their perspective, but what we see is they want to take it slow, right? They are making us commit that we are not putting their data in large language models, right? They are making sure that this only works. Whether you agree with that or not, you can argue, right? Like your data is on Google right now. What is that? It's in Google Cloud. It's not in the LLM, but in Google Cloud. So it's there are those. So like you can argue either way, but they are definitely waiting to see how that shake out before they are committing. But I think just in the last 2 weeks or 3 weeks, I've heard like some of the largest brokerages in the US that you would expect them to be like much slower moving, just saying, no, all our people are with Claude now, 20,000 people with Claude. So that shakes up. I think it's like building trust, right? Building trust, building confidence that this thing can work for them. From our perspective, we build our solution to work with both, right? Like that, like it's a lot for us about the infrastructure and whether they want to use human UIs on that or AI agents on top of this data. We are the ones helping them structure and make good insights out of that. So but it's a really interesting dynamic right now.
And would you say the market's evolved to a point where there's best practices on sort of human versus agent, or where human should be in the loop, or do you feel like it's still more client specific or still evolving?
I don't think there are best practices. I mean, there are a lot of people saying a lot of things, like everything else, in life, right? Like, it depends where you consume your news and where you're getting the latest. But I don't think there are best practices. I think there is a lot of experimentation. There is a lot of excitement about this technology. People are still learning. Definitely, most people want to have an offer site, especially, even those that are fast moving insurtechs that want to go, they still want to have some level of control and don't just let agents take over, right? So I haven't seen yet people saying our agents take everything. I think we do some of that when we build. So when my engineers are building, they might let the model, write the code, review the code, test the code, do all that, and like we are, I don't know how many X is more efficient.
Yeah.
But on the client perspective, being able to say, oh, you're here, let me just get my agents run on your data and they'll make the decisions. I haven't seen that. I think we're a little bit, I can be wrong, but I think we still have some time for people to build more confidence. They are not just now starting to share data with their Claude or OpenAI or whatever that might be. So that's now this. I feel like this is the level of comfort.
Yeah.
And maybe it's 2 months because with the pace this is going before. So maybe it's in 2 months, but maybe it could also be in 2 years. So
yeah. What about in terms of like measuring success?
Mm-hmm.
Different clients think about it differently, or there's some generally sort of common KPIs or other metrics you're looking at?
Yeah. So a lot of it depends on the problem we are solving. So for many clients, we solve multiple core problems. One is time to onboard. So that's very easy for us. So how much time it takes them from meeting a new agency to the time that this agency can start, quoting and binding. This is a core metric. At least from our perspective, right? And for me, it's core metric for distribution overall. The faster agents can interact with you, the better the experience, the more chances they have a delightful experience and they come back as a carrier, as an MGA to write policies with you. This is a core metric that we see very significant drop, and we measure it, and very easy to show the client or the prospect how that works. The other metric we are really very much improving is the amount of fees. So it's reduction of fees on appointments or on licensing fees that they are paying as a carrier on MGA, because we help them build just-in-time workflows. So they, like the distribution typically will have an 80-20, like 20% of the distribution will create 80% of the premium, and then they have a lot of dead weight. So on this dead weight, they typically, historically, they would just go and appoint them in all the states that the carrier is in, and all those appointments have a lot of fees, and those are renewing, and it's like I've seen carriers paying tens of millions of dollars in fees on that, and maybe 30% or 40% of those agents actually write policies. So we help them save a lot of money on that. So this is a big metric that we are showing, and then overall cost of management of distribution, both whether they do it manually today or they do it with another vendor. We typically see 30 to 50% discount on what they pay today, whether it's manual or. So there are quite a few metrics we are looking at. We do a lot of those ROI analysis with clients when they start the process with us. We work with them. Our typical, what we optimize for is one, trying to help them automate as much as they can from this process, and at the lower cost possible. That's how I believe. That's why we build it internally. That's how I believe in solving this problem. Like, you have to make it work, you have to make it efficient, and you have to make it, not crazily expensive. So, from our criteria for success with clients that are that, and for us as a company, we are looking at our growth, we are looking at our retention, like every other company that's building up. And yeah, I don't know if that was if you're asking more on the company or more on how we.
That's helpful. Yeah, no, that's helpful. I'm curious, like, from your perspective, are you seeing any shift in the makeup or sort of the relative, power is the best word, but influence, leverage within an organization, say between like the COO, the chief distribution officer, chief compliance officer, I'm probably missing another one, chief information officer, let's say, or chief AI and information officer. You seeing any shifts there, or any increasing overlap in any ways?
Oof, that's a great question. I am seeing a lot more head or chief of AI. A lot of those carriers are building, they're evaluating, but I feel like, sometimes they're getting the wrong type of profiles to that. Like, they're taking more of the, maybe more of the innovation people to be head of AIs. And I think head of AIs, in my point of view, have to be more architect and data people, at least in my perspective for now. But from a shift, the chief information officer start to be critical more and more. As I said, because of all this AI and where do you share my data and how my data is being used, like, a lot of those questions are coming up, and there is a lot more scrutiny. I think it's justified. There is a lot of things are moving so quickly, and you wanna really measure what you're doing and understand that pretty well. I don't see, other than the rise of more of a head of AIs or AI type of titles, I don't see much of like shift in dynamics. There is still the distribution and marketing and compliance are still running and driving those decisions. The other thing that I saw is more on the information security, and overall that becomes a larger point of conversation in each one of our sales cycles.
Yeah. Maybe just one last one here. What advice would you give carrier and MGA leaders kind of preparing for the next wave of distribution technology? What do you think they should start, either laying the foundation for now, or, building up in their org, or whatever the case may be?
I mean, I might sound like a broken record, but it's like, fix your data and fix fix how you look at things, because everything is going to be based on that, like the infrastructure and what they do with their data today. It's going to be the most important, most important capability for them. Like a lot of what AI can do relies on how good is your data. They have a lot of data for many years, but what I've seen from, top 5 carriers to top 10 agents, brokers, like they have a lot of data for sure. How this data is organized, how easy to pull that over, and how easy it is to answer questions or understand, who is whom and where this data belongs to. I've seen they all have the similar problems. I would say start now and start with the data. Even if it's a longer process, I would start there instead of like going and putting, let's go with Anthropic and get Claude in to help us get more answers. Like, great, but then it would take you in the wrong direction, right? Like, it's as good as the data you give it, as good as your infrastructure, and as good as the data it works on. So for me, that would be like invest in your data and infrastructure. I know that a lot of them are doing that, but it's never late. So keep doing more of it.
And if you were to look, say, 3 years out and think about the tech stack that sits on top of that foundation, that data foundation, is it going to look different, or do you think there's a certain it's going to look for those who done it the right way?
If you ask me, not in insurance, I would say for sure. Like, you see what Salesforce is, when you look at Salesforce and price, stock price is dropping so much, and they're moving to headless software, so software with no UI and connecting. Like, it definitely is going to change. Like, it's going to look different. In insurance, I don't know. I have I've been seeing that for 10, 12 years. I'm skeptical. Like, you've seen this whole motion coming through, and they still do the same thing because change is really hard, right? What I just said before on the data, it's really hard. Like, you have 50 different systems running. Like, how do you put how do you build, how do you vibe code a CRM for that? You have to there is a lot of infrastructure work that they need to do. Maybe then it works, but I think they are trying a lot of things. I feel like looking at peers, like startup peers doing AI, like heavily on AI, they get a good amount of demand, but mostly it's experimentation demand. I see them very easily selling POCs, very easily selling 6 months, 8, 10 months. That's going great. They're like, woohoo, amazing, I'm selling, but because everyone, and they sometimes will take like 3 companies in the same segment to experiment between them. But for me, it would probably take time for them in insurance to change. I think the rest of the market, I would not be surprised if the next 3 years you see a rise of a whole different way to interact with software, mostly working on your Claude and telling it what to do, and everything runs in the background. So I don't know how far are we from that in insurance and those, other insurance companies building those experiences. But if my experience serves me right, we're probably looking at 10 years out, not 2 years out. If I had to.
No, it is interesting. I don't want to take a lot more of your time, but I've had a number of interesting conversations with folks ranging from, like, I don't think, a lot of these agencies and brokers have a lot of family working on them, and they don't want to fire everybody because, they don't want to deal with their brother-in-law asking, why'd you fire my kid or whatever.
That's true.
And then in others, it's like, are companies really going to want to rip and replace, or are you going to, for the next generation, or are you going to have to kind of work around what they have? So I think that's probably a longer conversation for another day. But
another 30-minute conversation with you, exactly. Like the dynamics of the market, and if you're Anthropic, what you have to say in order to justify evaluations, and how you react. So it's very interesting dynamics to see.
And there's some players even just in the insurance and insurtech space who raise big money at high valuations, and that's going to impact their strategy too, right? So anyway, anything else, Ido, you'd like to add before we wrap up here?
No, just great conversation. Thanks for the opportunity to chat. If
All right.
anyone wants to ask questions, they can find me on LinkedIn and connect. I'm happy to connect with anyone.
All right, fantastic. Well, yeah, your info and the company's info will be in the show notes. And Ido Deutsch from Agentero and ProducerFlow, thanks so much for joining me on the InsurTech Leadership Podcast.
Thanks, Josh, for being here. Have a good day.
Take care.